It's time to start your engines and be part of the conversation. You can always ask the experts, Raffi and Dan Rosenberg, because it's now time for Clutch Radio. The show starts now.
Wow.
Now.
Look who's back.
I am back and feeling good.
Wow, Raffi's back for good, at least until next fall.
For good. Yep.
It's 10 o'clock. It's Saturday, December 17th. You're not imagining this. We are live.
And we are not a rerun or a recorded.
No,
program,
we didn't record this. This is, if you make comments, we will actually respond to them in real time.
Real time.
Oh my voice is deep today.
3D, real time.
Yes. So you had a long 2-day drive.
I did.
And you make the most of it, right? Like do you stop and do any sightseeing, or do you just pedal to the metal?
The first run, it's pedal to the metal. Yeah. I escape at around 7 a.m., avoid the morning traffic getting out of San Francisco area. And then I'm just hugging I-5 for 500 plus miles. And the very efficient Honda Accord hybrid that I have does very, very well.
Sips the gas.
What's that?
It just sips the gas.
Sips it just delicately. And the treacherous part over certain years has been going through the pass where snow can accumulate. And if you get there and the plows haven't gone through, it's pretty hard even in a regular front wheel drive car. Your car handles just fine, but you're slowing down. You're going 25, 30 miles an hour, and your 9-hour drive to Portland, it turns pretty quickly into about 13 hours. So the good news was it was plenty cold. 26 degrees was the coldest that I picked up going through, but made it through. There was no snow on the highway, and one gas stop, and making sure to not touch the gas pump when you're in Oregon.
Oh yes, you have to wait. Let them do it.
Yes, let them fill you up. But that Honda gas tank is it's about 13 gallons of usable fuel before your light comes on, and I made it almost to Portland, almost.
Wow!
But I had to stop and get gas, and but I take a stop at Portland, and then between Portland and Seattle, it's a shorter leg. It's another 3.5 hours. So it worked out really well.
Wow. Well, welcome back. Good to have you back. We did that same drive in 2010. We brought my Camry back up, and it was April 1st. It was April 1st weekend. It was around my wife's birthday, so I know it was in April.
Yeah.
And we hit snow out of the blue, and we're all dressed, we had left Santa Barbara, I think, or San Francisco, and all of a sudden we hit it. And I think I had shorts on. Josh was wearing pajamas. Becky was, t-shirt and jeans.
Sure.
And just snow. Like, what? Yeah. And we had to stop and pull off on the side of the road. Yep. And it was about, I feel like it was two hours until a plow finally came through.
Yeah.
And then the plow came through, and I got right behind him and just followed him out.
Yep.
It was crazy. As you watch the temperature slowly go up, the snow slowly goes down.
Yeah. And when I was 1 year when I was cutting through there, I knew it was going to be snowing. And so it started, and I picked up my pace, and it's a little treacherous there because it's windy and all that.
Yeah.
And I was going, now keep in mind, not a lot of snow is coming down, and it's not very flurry like, so it's not too windy, but I'm doing 70 to 75 through there. And some guy in a 4x4 pickup truck comes blowing past me. He must have been doing 90. And I thought, oh man. And sure enough, about 5-10 miles later, traffic starts to slow. And it took us about 2 hours to clear him having spun around and scared a semi truck that was sideways blocking almost all the lanes, while cars tried to sneak by. And of course, once the highway patrol showed up, he said everybody's got to put on chains to get through. And I had chains in my car, but for some reason, he was flagging people down, pushing. And I tracked right behind a guy pulling a trailer, and my car appeared to be getting good traction. So he let me go through. But
there you go.
It was super slow, and snow was, really pushing. So I got out and lowered the tire pressure in my front two tires, and until I cleared the pass, and then stopped at a gas station, aired them up again, because you get better traction with lower tire pressure. And it's probably
there you go. There's some Raffi road tips to start the day off. But now you're back. Adam, of course, missed you.
Well, good morning, Adam.
And Adam came to the sitcom premiere, the screening we did. And
well, thank you, Adam.
We will be taking it on the road to a couple of places. We'll be doing another public one here. So this one was kind of private because it was just, we invited people.
Right.
And the one we're going to do, the next one will be open to the public. So we can get actual people that don't know us telling us what they think of it.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. Well, thanks for showing up, Adam. Appreciate you coming and showing support and all that. And thank you for the comment. The cast was great. We had a lot of fun, very enjoyable. And maybe that's all that ever happens from it. But if people get a larger interest and we get some traction with it, who knows? Maybe we'll clear the snow pass.
We need to lower the tire pressure just a little bit. And I don't know if you've been on when we have a viewer in Ireland.
Yes. I remember before I had departed, our viewer in Ireland had shown up, and I think we'll have to prepare Cars of Ireland segment specifically, because we've
got DeLorean. What else?
Yeah. There are actually quite a few others, but believe it or not.
DeLorean, the Titanic. Those are the two from Belfast.
Yes, but yeah.
So I have an update about my Polestar. So they came out with a software a performance upgrade that's over the air.
Oh,
that takes you from 408 horsepower to, I think, 460.
Well, and you need that extra 50 horsepower, because if you've ever been in the Polestar accelerating to 60 miles an hour, I don't know how much faster that vehicle can be. It's shocking how fast it is.
Yeah, it is weird. So you get an extra 68 horsepower.
Why?
And an extra 15 foot-pounds of torque.
Why?
So it's 476 and 502.
My goodness. Why do you need that much horsepower in what effectively is a standard sedan?
Why not?
Well, I guess.
But it gives you this really cool. Let me pull this up real quick. It gives you this new app, sort of, and it's got this launch thing. So you can go in and you hit launch, and it tells you put your foot on the brake and the accelerator,
right,
and floor it, and then let go of the brake.
Yes.
And it'll give your 0 to 60, your 0 to 30, your 0 to 60, and your 0 to 70.
Oh.
And I got 2.2 0 to 30 because we really don't have the roads here that I can exactly test this out on a Saturday morning.
Right.
But it wasn't, I don't feel like it feels any different. And I paid for it. It was a couple dollars, but I figured, you know what? Why not?
Sure.
I'm not feeling it, but I do get stickers. They do change the stickers, because right now it's a 300 kilowatt car. Now it'll be a 350 kilowatt. So somehow they can change it without adding batteries. I have no idea how that works.
Well,
and I got a sticker for the grill, like a little square on one of the squares that says it's got the performance package.
So my understanding is, and I'm pretty sure this is true for all electric vehicles, is when the software is released for the vehicle's use, the vehicles are built and the batteries are built to maximum capacity possible, but they're released with limited capacity. So then with the on-air upgrade, the software releases the remaining capacity and the remaining horsepower that's within the system already.
Release the hounds.
Release the hounds. And with regard to you not necessarily being able to feel the additional horsepower, horsepower transferred to acceleration is not always a linear result. So you can have a car with more horsepower that may not be able to get faster to 60, but will perhaps make a big difference in the passing power between, let's say, 45 and 70. So
because torque is what gets you 0 to 60.
Torque is a big deal in terms of getting off the line and up to 60. And what you'll find is you said that your 0 to 30 was 2 point something.
2.2.
Okay, so 2.2 is more than half the time allotted to get to 60, because by the time the car is building up speed between 30 and 60, it's going to lapse that double jump much more quickly. This is sort of the Usain Bolt factor. If you watch him sprinting, you'll see that he gets out of the blocks pretty quickly, but the shorter legged sprinters are quickly ahead of him. But at the halfway point, Usain Bolt's stride, which I think is close to like 16 feet or something, it's some unbelievable amount of distance. By the time he's wound up and up to speed, forget about it. He's just completely annihilating any competition between the second half of that sprint. So the second
this makes sense
of 30 to 60 for your acceleration is going to be dramatically less than the 2.2.
So 2.2 will not be 4.4.
No,
which is what this was prior to the upgrade. 4.4 was my 0 to 60.
Right. It would probably be more along the lines of 3.9 or 4.0.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I think maybe for a segment, maybe next week we'll go out in the Polestar and we'll go somewhere where we can do some testing.
Yeah, there's plenty of undisclosed roadways that we can farm for that excursion.
In Ireland, by the way,
yes,
these are a couple of is that Mondial Racing and Crossley?
Mondial and Crossley.
Mondial.
Crossel. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I don't speak English.
You don't speak Irish.
And Ray says, welcome
It's
back, Raffi.
Gaelic,
Let me
by the
update
way.
you. What's that?
It's Gaelic, by the way.
Gaelic, sorry. Let me update on what happened since your absence. Well, okay.
All right. Let's hear what's going on, Ray.
All right, we got that from the me not knowing how to speak Irish.
It's like I don't speak Danish.
Oh, here we go. Ray is never a lack of words.
Here we go.
Well, let me put it up. There it is.
Car
Gas prices are tanking. Repos are expected to match 2008 due to all the insanity of people paying over MSRP. They're buried. Credit card default is spiking, resembling 2008. We're now seeing strategic default in homes, again, where people buy a new one for 30% less than the one they're paying on. Don't leave again. Look what happens. You know, this, he didn't leave the world.
Well, Ray is attributing my absence to the economic collapse, and that may very well be. We don't know if these two things are related. Until Janet and Michael Jackson appeared on the same show, most people believed that they were the same person.
I know, because I never saw them together.
So Ray is absolutely right, although he's worded his comment in, let's say, Twitter speak, so a little bit more volatile. I don't think the disaster is as imminent, and I'll have that argument with Ray with good humor, but I do believe that he's right, that many people who bought at a high price are realizing they're going to fairly quickly be upside down in terms of the value projection of the vehicle. That is, if they purchased the vehicle with their intent of a resale in a short period of time. Most of those cars will probably be fine. And it's the reason why is because many of the people who paid premium prices for vehicles were doing it selectively and not out of need. People that tend to make their purchases out of need will be a little bit more cautious financially with the money that they spend. Their interest rates still low. Their payment will hopefully still be affordable. If they lose their job, and there's a fair amount of talk around middle-class people having extensive job loss going into 23, then there could be a problem, and there could be impact to the pre-owned car market. There's already impact to the used car market or pre-owned car market because prices have come down since the historic highs. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. None of this seems to have dramatically affected the collector car market. So we're seeing good, solid sales for, let's say, average collector cars. But in the general used car market, it's already impacted.
Now, there's a couple of things I would say different here that I'm going to argue with Ray on, because Ray's doom and gloom. Unless there's one little, I'm on a chat on a text thread with him and some other guys in the car business.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. Things will go up, like something will go up a point, and we're all rich. And then it drops. He's like, it's over, doom and gloom.
Yeah.
If somebody bought a car and they overpaid for it a year ago, their payment still, it's not like, thank God this didn't happen, but it's not like there's variable rate car loans.
Right.
Like those rates are locked, and they were pretty low a year ago.
If at all.
Now they're up, you can't, although Westlake Financial, one of the banks we use at Tread, they have 2.99 right now on certain, they're qualifying people still for 2.99.
Yeah.
Which is free money. It's basically zero when you look at the prime rate and everything.
Well, and you have to remember too that this is end of year acceleration, so that dealers and car companies can post those sales as end of year sales. If those sales don't reach their quota, so to speak, then it does not bode well going into Q1 for 23. So that's one of the primary reasons why. And also, I may be mistaken about this, Dan. You know more than I. Don't most large-scale volume dealers buy a block of credit opportunity at a low rate and then disperse that?
Typically, no. I mean, they could have. There were coupons they used to do. Ally or GMAC used to do this, where you'd qualify for 10 coupons that you could apply anytime you wanted to. If you had a customer with questionable credit, you could say, you know what, here's I think the most I ever saw was maybe a 5-point reduction if it was like really high. And you could apply that to them. And it was based on your volume. As a general practice, I don't know that used car dealers ever get those opportunities. It's typically a factory incentivized, like if you're looking for 0% loans right now, there's a few out there.
Right.
But there's not a ton. And they're not 72 or 84 months anymore either.
Right. So I thought that, again, with new cars, that, for example, there's an agreed or committed amount of money available to lend at 0%. So used car or new car sales can be booked out at 2.9% because they still make their 2 points.
It depends. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different shenanigans that go on in the back room, but typically when they offer the 0%, that's an incentivized rate from the factory. They can't mark that up. Like they have to give it at 0%. Okay. Because that's if they qualify. Now, Westlake is a lender. They're a third-party lender. So they can set their own rates to whatever they want them to be. And then the dealer can add 2 points. So on these 2.9s, they're not offering 0.9. They're basically saying to the dealer, you're making no money on this. If you offer 2.9, they can now offer 4.9 and make their points. So, yeah, I mean, the interest rates, they're all over the place. But thank God nobody's gone slimy enough to do variable rate car loans. Yeah. Because then you've got, $180 payment for the first year, and all of a sudden it's $480 because it goes. Now you've got people that are buried in their car and they can't get out.
Well, even
kind of like people on the past when you were driving here.
Yes. Even with a variable rate home loan, you're insulated for a period of 5 years from payment increases. So I think if they did that, they did variable rate, I think the terms are just too short. Now, we get to a 10-year automobile purchase term with on $200,000, then it probably there may be a financial instrument in the future where they do variable rate. That's actually not that far off in the future. We have 7-year loans now, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're buying a commercial use heavy duty truck, that's a $80,000 to $100,000 vehicle, sometimes more. And I know on the large scale commercial vehicles and tractors and farm equipment, things like that, they do have variable rates, and because they're financing, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000.
Yeah. 10, 15 years sometimes.
Yeah.
We do have some comments. Good morning, gentlemen. Hi, Raffi Manassian.
Hi, Janice.
And not to be outdone. Yay. Good morning, gentlemen. Missed you, Raffi, and you, Dan.
Good morning,
Thank you.
Isabel.
Oh, by the way, this is a rerun, Isabel. This is not live.
Yeah.
How is that possible? I love to say that to people. Going car shopping on Thursday. Well, I'm going to go look. That usually means I'm buying.
Yes. If you go shopping to a dealership and you walk in there and you say, I'm just looking, they're going to work you harder. If you go in there and just admit it, I'm going to buy a car today, then they're going to back off and they're going to go, all right, we'll take our time. We'll enjoy the process. And then you can later change your mind. You can say, all right, well, I thought I was going to buy, but I can see based on all the information you've given me that I'll need to take some time to think about this.
Yeah. And one of the best tricks I just read about, I think we talked about before, is you go on the dealer's website and you find a car that you don't want.
Yes.
And you go in and you start pushing for that one.
Yes.
And then get them to turn you to the car you do want.
Yes.
And then act like, well, yeah, I don't really want this nice one. No, I'm looking for this 4-door Civic. I don't want this 2-door Accord. And then all of a sudden you're driving away in the 2-door Accord and they're giving you a great deal. And they're like, oh, we got that guy to buy a car he didn't even want.
And you're inside there going,
yeah. Cars under 8K are selling quite well. People are tapped out. We just had 2 buyers drop off their 2020 and 2021 Hyundai and Escape as repos and then paid cash for a 2010 Corolla and 2009 Mitsubishi. Inning number 1 of a brutal 23 and 24. Well, that's just irresponsible. They shouldn't have bought those 2020 and 2021 to start with.
Well,
I see what you're saying.
I think Ray is right. The market for $6,000 to $12,000 cars during economically challenging times is very good. And right now, it looks pretty good. If you need a car, there are some amazing cars that are going to last for a really long time for $8,000 to $12,000. One of my friends down in Northern California, unfortunately, the family has 2 Priuses and woke up woke up one morning when I heard him start the car to head off to work, and
cats were gone.
Both cats from both cars gone. So the backlog or back order on catalytic converters for a Prius in California is insane. He still hasn't gotten it and probably won't have it until February. And then it's an almost $2,000 part because you can't use any of the leftover exhaust because they cut it with a Sawzall. And so the whole thing has to come out. They put the one. So by the time it's all said and done, he spent $3,000 on a $6,000 Prius. So
there's insurance for that, isn't there? Would insurance cover that since it was a theft?
They do cover it, but again, he's without a car.
Exactly, and it could be a total. They could end up totaling the car out too.
Well, they could, but they won't because the car is worth more once it's repaired. So
how did I know you're going to go to Honda? Because if I said Honda or Toyota, I had a pretty good chance of getting it right.
When I was in Ireland, I was astonished how many people owned Hondas, and they're fabulous cars, by the way.
That's what you drive.
I drive. I've owned many Acuras, many Hondas. They're not only reliable cars. They actually, one of the things I like about them is they're performance oriented. They don't pitch that. But Honda is a performance company. They're an engine company. That's their specializations, engines, not cars. They actually built engines for a lot of different things. And then they couldn't get other companies to buy their engines. So they figured, well, nobody's buying our engines. Let's just build stuff around them. So they built lawnmowers and snow blowers and motorcycles. And then their first car, Honda's first car, was a motorcycle engine with a chain driving the rear wheels. They just put a body around it. And so they really cultivated performance as part of the driving experience. And that's, a V6 Honda engine that is inside my car, the same engine that's in my car. It's 230 to 240 horsepower engine. That same engine can just be slightly modified to get 400 horsepower, and then significantly modified to get 1,000 horsepower, which is astonishing. So I'm thinking about putting 1,000 horsepower into my.
He's never had a Honda, but driven a few S2000 Accords and Civic Type Rs.
Yes. Well, it sounds like we've got a performance-oriented person.
Need to better regulate the cat buyers. Now, a lot of the junk, like the pick and pulls and the places where people are selling the cat, they won't buy them anymore.
That's right. They're not allowed to. In California, they passed a law that said you cannot purchase a loose catalytic converter without a VIN number attached to it. So you have to come with the car that had that part. So Dan is absolutely right, because California finally had to regulate it. That night where his vehicle cats were stolen, he had two. So the two were stolen. He reported it to the police, and they said, well, you're the 9th car that was stolen that night in that area.
9th and 10th.
Yes. And so what I told him was there's a place in the next town over that on the weekends, cars line up in front of the high school with for sale signs. And I've both bought and sold cars there when I was living in Northern California. So went down there, found an $8,000 Honda Civic Hybrid with 76,000 miles in great condition. And he bought it cash right on the spot, and has been driving it since. And it worked out well, because you rent a car, you will have spent, $4 or $5 grand by now. So
yeah. Janice has had a Honda Accord and a Civic.
Yeah.
And the race is, don't get me started on crime. Broken into 3 times in 3 months, 2 cars stolen in the last 90 days. Cashbox Computer, other dealers are having it even worse. Yeah. On the bright side, getting a Chick-fil-A in Gig Harbor.
Ah, there you go.
Giggity giggity. You can't get your sandwich on Sunday though. So
the amount of automotive crime has increased dramatically. I was reading about this. We could do a whole show on this segment, because for some reason the driver is not economics. The driver is, apparently there's some sort of mid to lower pressure that occurs at a certain point as inflation is looming, that drives car theft and other theft, because there's some sort of strange opportunism to take advantage of it before it gets desperate. And there's some economists that use inner city and surrounding city crime rates to predict inflation. So we're seeing some of that, and it's increasing. And it's, automotive crime, it's not just stealing a car. You can do an awful lot of damage to a car just stealing the parts.
Yeah. Dan just says has battery stolen. Places have signs out saying they buy back, but they pay $5, $10 for batteries.
Yeah.
But again, I guess if you're desperate.
There was a car on the highway on my way home, and it had one of those yellow stickers on it, and it was up on cinder blocks, all wheels and tires gone. So that could
have been an insurance claim.
It could have been.
Somebody's like, I got to get rid of this car. My payments are too high. Ray's right. I can't pay these payments.
Yeah.
Parking on the side of the road, and
well, in 90s,
stolen.
One of our listeners claimed the rates are what they were in the 1990s. Yeah, the car theft in the 90s was very high. Camry was the number one car being stolen in the 90s. Number two was Honda Accord, and could be argued that those were the two top selling cars at the time as well. But 1990s now are 30-year-old cars. So what's interesting is 90s cars are becoming classic and collectible, if you can believe that. People are paying big money for a Type R Honda, which Acura made, a fantastic driving car, but ones with low miles and in excellent condition. Not unusual. It's not unusual to be paying $75,000 to $90,000 for an Acura Type R from the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Well, I just saw a 91 Toyota 4Runner, right-hand drive diesel. With how many miles does it have?
Right-hand drive.
Right-hand drive.
What is it doing in the U.S.?
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's got a. The VIN is very weird.
Is it Canadian?
No. The right-hand drive. No, it's probably from Japan, I'm guessing.
It could be. The JDM, or Japanese domestic market cars, now have surpassed the 25-year mark. So any car that's 25 years or older that was JDM can now be imported into the United States and without restrictions. So now California has emissions restrictions that limit some JDM equipped vehicles, but you can get emission equipment on a JDM vehicle so that it passes their emissions test. California still has some of the most stringent emission requirements for vehicles, but other states, including Oregon and Washington State, there's a high number of JDM vehicles bought and sold. Subarus, very, very popular performance WRX Subarus, Acura performance vehicles, and some of the Lexus as well.
Yeah, Dan says he's seen some rural mail carriers use the right-hand versions.
He's right, because they get easier reach over into the mailboxes.
Now, this one, like, I'm looking at the VIN. I mean, the VIN is not even a 17-digit VIN. It's like maybe it's India, IN13000. But I mean, the thing is, it's pretty cool looking. They want $9,000 for it, which I think is a little high. It's only got 150. It's a 91, 150,000 miles on a diesel. It's a manual diesel right-hand drive.
It's just broken in.
Yeah, so that's an interesting interesting ride.
We're not doing old school yet, but there is a very, very attractive Toyota that was made in the 90s called the Toyota Sera, Sera. And I think we might have done an old school of that vehicle. It's a JDM car, most right-hand drive. And boy, what a fun car, primarily because it has what's called butterfly doors. So the doors open up and out. And it's a small car. It's built on the Toyota Paseo platform, same as the Tercel. Very efficient, very easy to maintain, low-cost vehicle, and very cool and sporty. And if you buy one, get one with the optional super LED lighting stereo system that comes with it. And the entire rear deck has this speakers and illuminating thing, and it's pretty fun.
Now you've got Tom Jones stuck in his head for the rest of the night.
You go.
Now Ray asked about, he's got an interesting car of the week. So
let's take a look at Ray's car of the week.
Let's see if I get a big picture. There we go. And he wants to talk about this car of the week too. So let's do this real quick. Here we go. So Ray's car of the week, a 2007 Saturn Vue 4-cylinder hybrid front-wheel drive 4-door SUV at 2.4B. I don't know what the 2.4B is standing for.
That's the 2.4 beater version.
Oh, the beater version.
Yes, not to be confused with 2.4 liter version. Oh, the B is probably the designation, the motor designation. There might have been something specific to the 2.4 liter version. But the Saturn Vue in the hybrid configuration is actually pretty rare. And it's a 4-door, did it say all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive?
It's a front-wheel drive.
Okay. Yeah. So this is actually a pretty desirable car. It was well built. This was about uh,
Right near the end of Saturn, if I'm not
yeah, I was going to
mistaken.
say it was near the end of Saturn, and they'd just been building up the momentum to build cars that were really well balanced, well priced, and the SUV market had taken off quite a bit, and Saturn was sort of playing catch up to get into that market because their original plan was not to do SUVs; they were going to do lower cost, smaller vehicles. Um, so this is an unusual car. I'd be curious to find out what the production number was on these.
Well, these were basically, Saturn. This is when I was working for Felix Chevrolet, actually back in '07. And I remember General Motors, the whole idea with Saturn was it was going to be unique. It was
Yes,
going to be its own car. And then, of
right.
course, GM did what they always did. They just rebranded. This is a Chevy Equinox.
Yes,
Exactly what it is.
yeah,
And they had the Aura was the Malibu,
yep.
and they totally left their entire business model. They're like, oh, wonder why it doesn't work, because you had a good idea. You're going to do the no dicker sticker.
Yep.
That was their whole thing. One price.
Yeah.
You go in, and that's the price of the car. They're all going to be value priced. I mean, some of these are reliable. I bought one at the auction very early on.
Was
When I had a
was
car
yours a
dealer.
view? Was yours a view or was it a? I don't think
Yeah,
yours was a view. Oh, was
yeah.
it?
It was that silver. It was a
Yeah.
two-door. Yeah, it was a
Okay.
silver. It was an '04.
Okay. All
It
right.
was a Saturn View. Uh, I think it was all-wheel drive. It had mold in it. It needed the front fender and the door. They both had issues.
Yeah, I
And we got
remember.
a door skin, and we got the front fender, and we painted it. And I think the car was $400, and then we spent maybe another 400, and then sold it for 2,500. And
Yeah.
quick flip.
Yeah.
This one Ray has available. This is a 4.6 condition report out of 5. That's pretty
very good.
strong.
And the miles?
140,000,
Low miles.
3,500 plus tax and license.
That's a great deal. Look,
Yeah.
if you're looking for an SUV, to get an SUV, this is, I want to say, is this in the mid-size classification or is it full-size SUV?
That's a midsize.
Okay.
Maybe even a compact. And then Ray, oh, I don't like Equinox or Terrains or Acadias. Ugh. It's a GM, Ray. It's a GM. It's the same.
They're all the same. They're body panels and interior modifications. But here's the thing: for $3,500, you're not going to get an SUV of this quality, which is actually quite good. I mean, General Motors builds really good quality trucks, and much of their truck thinking did end up in the SUV platforms. What could go wrong with this car that you buy it for $3,500 and drive it into the ground? Brakes, tires, battery, maybe an alternator or a starter here and there. As long as you keep the oil regularly changed, and very, very important with an automatic transmission, change and get your filter changed for your transmission fluid.
Yes. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
definitely a huge issue on a lot of these. On my little pickup truck, the 84 that we drove,
Yeah.
you'll remember we had some transmission issues.
Yep.
It was leaking fluid.
Yeah.
I had the filter changed, and they sealed up the crankcase
Gasket.
or whatever they call the transmission
Pan
area.
gasket. Yep.
The
Pan
gasket. I know
Yep.
nothing about cars, obviously, and that's why I've got this guy here.
Yeah.
And the transmission is solid now. There's an oil leak still, and I just tried some of that blue magic, blue devil, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
See if I can get the oil leak to slow down. But
So
that thing's running great.
for your automobile, you want to change your oil after 100,000 miles. You want to change your oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, depending on the type of engine you use and the conditions where you live. So 3,000 to 5,000 miles, you can change it at 5,000 miles. Up to 100,000 miles, every 7,500 is fine. Now, in addition to that, you're going to want to change your transmission fluid probably every 3 years. Get a transmission fluid service, which will pull the fluid out. The fluid gets brown and a little contaminated, and that wears down the mechanical componentry inside the transmission. So you want to get that fluid out, put in fresh fluid, and then have your filter changed, and sometimes have them pull the pan out for the transmission fluid, and then scrape and clean the gasket, and then replace that gasket with a fresh gasket. And then at that time, they'll also inspect the gears and inspect some of the fluid chambers. So automatic transmissions use hydraulic fluid or transmission fluid to run the system, so that your shifting occurs automatically through pressurized fluids. So the better the fluid condition in your automatic transmission, the more smoothly your transmission will operate. Another very, very important thing for people with automatic transmissions. Oftentimes, people will be driving their car, climbing a hill, then they get to the top of the hill and they put their car in neutral and coast. Do not, under any circumstance, do that with an automatic transmission, because the system will heat up. The fluid is not moving through the automatic transmission. Then when you engage, it will cause heat shock to the system, and you'll eventually cause your automatic transmission to fail.
So we do not want failed transmissions.
No free will coasting in an automatic transmission car. In a manual transmission car of older design, you can get away with doing that. Even the newer design ones, you can do that. But it's always safest to keep your vehicle gear engaged when you're going downhill, because it helps maintain control of the vehicle.
Adam says, speaking of oil change, when you get one done, make sure they put the oil cap back on correctly. He had a problem.
Yes. Not only that, now most oil change places now, they will not remove the drain plug from your oil pan. They used to drain it that way, and then they put that back on and fill oil. Now they don't even mess with that. They suck the oil out through the dipstick tube using a high pressure dipstick tube sucker. And
that's a technical term.
Yes, that is. Don't be afraid of it. They suck the oil out, and then they fill oil back in. Now, one of the things that you can do, as Adam points out, when you go get your oil changed, is I always do this. When I go to get my vehicle, I open the hood and I look, and I just give a visual inspection to see that everything is in order. Somebody hasn't left a wrench on top of the car, which happens. Somebody hasn't left a rag somewhere in the car that ends up
stuck in the fan. And
yeah. So there's a lot of things. And if you go to a quick lube or a Jiffy Lube or some sort of fast oil change place, one of the things they will frequently do is they will walk out after your car is in the middle of being repaired. They'll say, who owns the Honda? And they'll, oh, that's me. And they'll have in their hand a dirty air filter. And they'll tell you, this is your air filter. We should probably replace it. The filter itself is only $20 and we've already got it out, and we'll pop it in. It's, whatever. So you look at it and go, well, okay, go ahead and do that. And then you come to find that while they've done that, sometimes, not always, sometimes they take the same air filter and they walk out with it. And they say, hey, you need an air filter. They don't change your air filter at all. They just charge you an extra $20. And I found this out because I actually tested it one day, and I put a brand new air filter in my Honda before I went to get the oil change, and they came out with a dirty air filter.
Yeah,
and
I had that happen once. They came out with the they're like, you really should do an engine flush. They're trying to sell an engine flush, and they show me, here's your oil filter, and they dump. Look, there's metal pieces. And I'm like, that oil filter is really big for my car. Like that's that's not off a truck. That is not my oil filter. Oh yeah, it is. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Most oil filters, by the way, you used to see they'd be a canister about this big, and I'm holding my hands up, about 6-inch cylinder canister for an oil filter. That's for a standard V8.
Yeah.
Now they're small. They're like a half a can of Pepsi.
Yeah. So, now Adam says he won't name the place, but he went in, got an oil change. They didn't put the oil cap back on correctly. causing his car to kick on the check engine light, and the car ran funny. They
Yeah.
forgot to screw the cap on, and it was allowing air to get in.
Yeah. It's not uncommon. These guys are moving quickly.
Not unusual. Sorry.
Not unusual. They move quickly, but they because they got to do the volume. They got to do the volume to make the money to pay for that place. So they're moving very quickly, and they oftentimes don't check. And a lot of these guys, there are good people that work there, but quick oil change places is the first tier of employment for non-certified mechanics. So once they work in an oil change place, they can work on getting their certification. They can work on doing, smog checks. They'll do some basic inspection stuff. They'll learn that trade, and then they'll go and get certification for higher level mechanical work. But that's, Jiffy Lube type places. I hate to use that term generically, but these guys are $15 to $22 an hour workers. And so they're doing their best to make their money, and they want to move those cars out of there quickly, but you do have to be careful and watch them.
Yeah. Bob says, I had a K&N filter. They told me I needed a new one. It said, stop, replaceable air filter. Replaceable or reusable?
Reusable.
Yeah.
K&N air filters are fantastic. They're high performance product. You can clean them. The filter itself is reusable, so you don't have to spend a lot of money constantly changing them. But for the ease of general maintenance, if you're even moderately skilled under the hood, just lift the hood and do a visual inspection once in a while of your car, and get a damp rag and clean it off so that you can see if there are any top leaks that you can locate. Test the hoses. Give them a little squeeze, not when the car is hot, but when it's cool.
Right.
Give the hose a little squeeze, and if they feel a little bit brittle, time to change them. Hoses are not expensive to change, and while you got those hoses off, get your cooling system flushed. These are the kinds of things that you do $100 here, $150 there. It adds up to thousands of dollars of savings long term. There's a fellow who unfortunately recently passed away, but he set the world record for miles driven in a single car, 3.2 million miles in a Volvo P1800.
Never had an oil change.
He changed the oil a lot. Rebuilt the engine, I think, 3 times. And then he donated the car. His will, he donated it to Volvo. So the Volvo Museum has the car, including a banker's box full of, yes, Irv Gordon. Thank you, Bob. Banker's box full of records that go with the car, which prove that you can do it. Now, there are many cars, Mercedes diesels, that have more than 1 million miles. The Volvo Owners Association, they will give you, if you show your vehicle has done 200, 300, 400,000 miles, you get these little stickers that you can put on your car. And for many Volvo owners, to have a Volvo that has 200,000 miles, the amount of pride has to do with how much money you've spent to fix it. Because Volvos are not cheap to maintain.
Well, Dan's got a good point. If you add more oil as fast as it leaks, technically you're changing your oil all the time.
Dan is correct.
I've had cars like that.
I had a Studebaker. I had a 1960 Studebaker.
Every time I got gas, I had to put in a quart.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's see. So a couple other comments. Adam says, so Quick Lube is basically McDonald's for mechanics.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Absolutely.
And Isabel says, where's the best place to go for oil changes and transmission service? Locally, obviously, I love Greenlight Garage. I like Nick over at Greenlight. He does a great job.
Yep.
Just in general, if you're not, obviously, you don't have to come all the way to Bainbridge to go to see Nick. But if you go to a place that is the local, they've been there a while, they have a reputation to protect.
Yes.
They're not going to try to screw people over. A Jiffy Lube place or Valvoline or Quick Lube or whatever that's just in a shopping center. Yeah, they don't want to screw people over.
No.
But they also know a lot of times, especially if you go in there and you have out-of-state plates, you're on the road, you want to do something, they don't care about you.
Right.
They're not looking for the return business.
And look, they're not, like Dan said, they're not trying to sting you. They just want you in and out. That's how they make their money. Just like Adam said, they're the McDonald's of oil changes. But a really good tip I tell people when they're new to an area, when you've just moved in and you haven't, you're out of state, you're moving in, you're getting settled in. Simple thing to do is show up at your local fire department with a box of cookies or donuts, and just say, hey, I'm new in the area. I just wanted to introduce myself. Can you give me a tip as to where you guys get your oil changed? And so nobody, either the police station or the fire department, nobody is going to do a bad job on the police or fire vehicles. So it's good to know where they get their oil change, where they get their maintenance work done. And oftentimes, as Dan said, it's going to be a local shop that's been around a while, doesn't want to cause any trouble. We've got 2 or 3 of them here on the island, but that's a great way to learn. Same thing with the police vehicles, county vehicles. If you know the county people, you can go there. So Isabel is saying, I need mine done now.
And it's a GMC Acadia. Sorry, Ray.
Well, you can, Isabel, as Dan said, Nick at Greenlight Garage does a great job. Aaron at Modern Collision does, I don't think he does oil change, but just down below there, John at Island Auto Center does a great job.
Aaron does oil change. They're booked out for like 6 months. I mean, they're.
Now, is Blue Canary still doing oil changes there?
Oh yeah, Blue Canary is another great place. The owner used to be a service manager at a CarMax, so he knows how to work on multiple cars.
Yeah, and generally speaking, as we said, most people don't want to do a poor job of any kind of service. If anything, they're guilty of doing it quickly. And if you're going to have work done on your brakes, or if a shop gives you $1,000, $1,500 invoice for work that needs to be done that is not immediate, it's a good idea to take it to another shop and just get a second opinion. Don't go there and say, hey, I think I need my brakes done. Go there and say, would you please give my car a safety inspection? Just go over the vehicle and tell me what it is I need to do with the vehicle, because I'm planning to take a long drive. I want to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah, and I had a friend who went to Nick early on when they first had opened, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and she had a BMW that had been sitting forever, and she thought, I think the timing belt or chain, whatever that has, it was bad, and this was bad, and he gave her an estimate. It was like $4,200, and she's like, okay, do the work. And then when he got in there, he goes, hey, you know what? It's not that bad. Doesn't need that. It needs a little plastic replacement around the chain.
There you go.
That's all it needed. And it ended up being an $1,800 job. She had approved a $4,200 job, and he was like, no, it's $1,800.
That's what you want. See, that's great. And when a service organization does a good job like that, whether they do the job that they said they're going to do for the price they did and everything is fine, or they come back and they don't charge as much and do a fair job for what you need, tell your friends, because businesses like that, they benefit tremendously from word of mouth, and that's how they're able to maintain their business. And we need to do more to support local businesses so they stay alive and they keep going, especially if they're honest. And these guys aren't putting millions of dollars in their pockets. They're keeping their families going and they're maintaining what they can, but they're offering a community, local, and easy to use service. So it's important to support them.
Yes. And speaking of supporting them, how about we go old school?
I'm ready.
That's a horrible segue.
Well, today we're going old school. We're going to go Dodge. Dodge for the, wait for it now, multiple names here, the Dodge Custom Royal Lancer. That's right. 1955, I believe, was the first year, and they made them for about 4 years. This was the top of the line for Dodge. Now, Dodge was in the hierarchy of Mopar products. You had Plymouth as the base entry, then you had Dodge, then you had Chrysler, then you had Imperial. So Dodge was the type of car that a middle manager might buy on his way up to getting a more expensive Chrysler. So what they thought they'd do is add some nice special features to it. And so they built the Custom Royal Lancer, which offered premium finishes, premium paint, premium interiors, and some really good looking cars. This was during the Virgil Exner design era. So Chrysler products were starting to look pretty darn good. And you can see the example Dan's pulled up here. This is actually a factory color. Dodge experimented. This is pink with, I believe, purple and a white top. Dodge experimented with a vehicle they called the Dodge La Femme, which was a car specifically designed for women. And it had interesting features like a makeup mirror in the glove box and various other details that for some reason at that time they thought would appeal to women. At this time in automotive marketing, companies started to realize that men bought cars primarily from the exterior, whereas women bought cars primarily for the features on the interior. So Dodge began to experiment with some of that and was the first and in fact only company to publicly market a car specifically made for women. It didn't last very long, but the Custom Royal Lancer was a really interesting car. Nice features on the Dodge product line. You can get a really good looking Dodge Custom Royal Lancer in the 55 or 56 model year. You can get a nice coupe. You can get a convertible. And the convertibles will be a little bit more expensive. You might spend $50,000 to $70,000 for a nice one. The coupes might be 25 to 30. But if you get up into the higher year ones, the final year, 1959, the 1959 convertible Dodge Custom Royal Lancer, fully restored, you're going to be spending well over $100,000, maybe $150,000 for 1959. It'll come with two-tone paint, amazing, like glacial tail fins, just streaming out the back of the car, wire wheels, impressive grille, and of course, one of the Futuramic type dashboards. There's a photo of one. Look at that car. Just unbelievable amount of chrome and God help you if you restore one of these cars. There's the dual quad engine. The chrome for restoration on a car like this would easily exceed $50,000. Just unbelievable amounts of chrome and detail. This was back when American cars were at the pinnacle of excess. And you park a modern SUV next to a Custom Royal Lancer from 1959, and the SUV almost looks small. So there you go, something unique, something unusual, something not seen frequently, the Dodge 1955 to 59 Custom Royal Lancer. Are you on mute, Dan?
Yes, I had a cough. There we go.
There you are.
Isabel used to own a 56 Buick Special when she was 17.
There you go. I actually had a 55 Buick Special, a four-door Buick Special, turquoise and white. Yes, that is a nice car. And Janice, I know you're a fan of Mopar products. So
I had a Chrysler Newport 1962.
You did. A very good looking car. And
it was green when I got it, and we had it switched over to red with a black roof. It had the push button transmission.
Yep.
And it's another one of those cars. Like, why did I sell that?
Yeah, Chrysler built some really, really nice cars in the 50s. During that period, they were design leaders. They worked with Ghia in Italy to design some really, really handsome cars. That period, the mid to late 50s for Chrysler, it's hard to beat for style and design. And also during that period, that was the beginning of the Chrysler Hemi. And the Hemi engine would go on to basically be one of the top American performance engines, derived all the way through. Still today, if you look at contemporary dragsters and quarter-mile cars, the engines that are used in those cars are the Keith Black Chrysler-derived Hemi engines, putting out tens of thousands of horsepower. Just phenomenal. So Chrysler products from the 50s and the Dodge Custom Royal Lancer.
Now, our Irish friend says he's got to go in case I don't get to watch next week. Wanted to wish you guys and everyone watching a happy Christmas.
Very good. Thank you. All right, Norm. Well,
In Ireland, they say Happy Christmas, not Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas is good.
Janice wants to know, where's the Huggy-mobile? It's still sitting at Bainbridge North Storage, I believe. I hope it's still there.
I have to send you a picture of
Well, he stole it.
Huggy Mobile's cousin. It's a copper, same era car that I saw. I snapped a picture of it. But yeah.
Well, the car is very well featured. It's one of the co-stars of the sitcom.
Yes, it is.
As is the waterbed.
Yes, the waterbed plays heavily. And
Yes.
all right. Well, look at us. We've used.
Oh my God, it's an hour.
How about that?
Well, welcome back. We'll be doing a show next week. Yes.
Yes, I will be here next week.
Maybe we'll do live. Maybe you can come over here to the studio
There you go.
and be in office.
Yeah.
I've got an extra chair. I could hook up another microphone.
There better be a scone nut there.
Yeah, where was Jake today?
I don't know.
Oh, wait, hold on. Corvette.
There. Now we.
He probably assumed we were a rerun again.
Well, we'll get him back and active.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about the Corvette market because there's going to be a car coming up to auction that I think he's going to be very interested in.
And I also wanted to point out, I pulled this up earlier. There are only 4 companies right now that have 0% APR deals on cars. Alfa Romeo.
Okay.
For 48 months for the Giulia or 36 for the Stelvio. Ford, 66 months on an Edge or an Escape.
Wow.
Hyundai, Elantra, Kona Electric, Nexo Fuel Cell, Santa Cruz, Santa Fe, Sonata, and Tucson, all 0%, but only for 36 months. And Toyota has the Mirai, which is only available in California, I believe. It's the hydrogen fuel cell car, 0% for 72 months.
The company Alfa Romeo, their presence in the United States, I am predicting for North America is in jeopardy.
Ooh.
Yes.
So 0% is a good way to get some cars on the road.
Yes. You're welcome, Isabel.
Yes. Thank you, Isabel. Good to see everybody. And next, our Monday night, the Aradan Film Festival. We're doing some Christmas movies this holiday season. We're doing double features.
Excellent.
We're doing White Christmas and another movie I forgot for some reason. Adam, what's the other movie?
White Christmas. Wow.
Yeah, we're going old school. White Christmas.
That is old school.
Yeah. By the way, I decided I'm going to write a Hanukkah movie because there isn't really a good one.
Oh, I've not seen a Hanukkah movie. That would be fun.
It's called A Very Christmas Hanukkah.
A Very Christmas Hanukkah.
Does
it open in the Chinese restaurant?
No, it opens at Thanksgiving. It's based on my childhood. We always had family Thanksgiving, and then we did a gift exchange on Christmas Day. That was our Hanukkah. Was always on Christmas Day.
There you go.
So it's a very Christmas Hanukkah.
All right.
Well, that's all we got. How do I end this show? I haven't been on here for so long. Oh, here we go.
The guy washing the car.
That's right.
Sleepy music.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.